सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज.
The miseries of material existence and the most hopeless conditions of life is the best possible opportunity to turn to God.
Bare Knuckle Bhakti presents The Gift of Desperation, a Bhakti recovery podcast. This is a 12-step based Bhakti-oriented space. Here we share our experience, strength, and hope in the spirit of recovery from addictions and associated behaviors. Welcome. Hello. Hey, Rob.
Oh.
Hi. It's so nice that you came. Thank you so much. I'm really happy you're here. It might be that I just wanted to let you know that I might turn my camera off sometimes because here in the third world country of Germany, we have very slow internet. So the bandwidth might be small. So if I just disappear, just letting you know, it's just because I want to keep the bandwidth not overloaded. Okay. So with no further ado, I am super excited and super happy. We've been trying to get this together for weeks, actually. Robert B. is, I've known Robert from the hardcore scene in New York years and years ago, maybe in the 80s, 90s. Robert was, we kind of reconnected. We have a lot of friends, that know each other, who I've been trying to get on the show as well, like Mr. Kenny, trying to get him on the show, but his schedule is also a little bit different. During COVID, I started this Bhakti recovery group, and we just sort of connected, and he started coming during the whole COVID times, and it was nice. It was great association. And Robert is also what is you're a drug counselor or a social worker?
Yeah, I have a couple of different titles. In New York City, or New York State rather, it's called a KSAC, which is a credentialed alcohol and substance abuse counselor. And then I also have another credential, which is more peer related, which is called a certified recovery peer advocate. I'm what they call a provisional at this point. It's just a matter of taking the exam, and then I'll have the full credential. And overall nice guy, if I don't say.
Yeah, and overall, and the most important, a recovering addict himself.
Yes.
Of the kind that I love, because we shared the same kind of hideous bottoms, and we both had the gift of desperation. So with no further ado, Robert, hey, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here. I know we've been struggling, but I've been listening to your podcast, and as you mentioned earlier, we sort of became reacquainted through the lockdown period and your early efforts to create this. It wasn't even called Bhakti Recovery. It was just, you were doing a Zoom thing. There were some folks that were devotees. Some people were just straight, maybe AA members or NA members.
Intergalactic meetings, remember?
Yes, that's right. I forgot about that. That's right. Intergalactic. Yeah. So it was cool, and I really give you a lot of credit for doing that, because I could, it was a huge undertaking. Okay, and I see the internet's acting a little cuckoo.
Yeah,
so you can still hear me, and that's cool.
Oh yes, absolutely.
What saint is that I'm seeing now?
That's our mother, our Lady of Seven Sorrows.
Nice. I was actually reading The Little Way for Every Day, Thoughts from Thérèse of Lisieux, probably pronouncing it wrong. French nun / saint, and good stuff. And
that's the great stuff about recovery, huh? The door is open to any religion,
Correct.
any religion and any way where we understand God of our understanding, and that door is huge and widely open, and that's why I'm so grateful. So my question,
please, yeah.
Let me ask you. So how did you get into recovery? Like, what happened? Tell us a little bit about how you found recovery.
Sure. I mean, it's Oh, I don't think any recovering person has a a linear beginning. I think we're all pretty convoluted
Yeah.
/ unmanageable, particularly in the beginning. So I
Yeah.
will do my best to kind of have some kind of thread. Um, as you had mentioned, I was part of and still I feel still part of, at least on a spiritual level, although I don't really go to shows or concerts all that much. Part of the punk rock and hardcore scene. Um,
Yeah.
I found that I was kind of a late bloomer when it came to drugs and alcohol. Uh, I was kind of a nerdy science fiction comic book kid, and I'm still that.
I
And I'm
love
very,
that.
very grateful for it.
You know, the funny
Uh,
thing is, I have so many friends who are like comic book nerds. It's
oh,
just, I love it.
absolutely. I kind of re-embraced it now, but when I got a little older, I was just kind of like, be honest with you, I wanted to get laid, so I kind of let that stuff. I kind of let that stuff go. But it was still in there, but I was just like, I want to get laid, and but really, in all seriousness, I've been, and I still am to a certain degree, a very scared, uncertain, unsure of himself little boy. And not that I want to get too deep into the origins of that, but it is important, at least for me, to identify it because, we talk about, sometimes you hear in our recovery meetings, the disease is a family disease, right? Now, there's
Yeah.
different ways to view that. Now, there's one, okay, there's maybe one family member who's having a difficulty with substances, and it does affect people close to us, certainly. But then
Mm,
it's all kind of when we dig a little deeper, when we learn that this is a disease of attitudes and behaviors based in self-centered fear and a negative outlook in life, or as
right.
talks about 1,000 forms of fear. Well, the origins of those attitudes came from the home, and definitely I could identify that now, not so much early in the recovery. And that's not to play the blame game either. And that's a beauty that we have in recovery, at least through 12-step recovery, which I participate in. So I'm diverting. So let me kind of get back on the thread. Um, to really put it honestly, alcohol, weed, whatever, and there was a progression for me. I felt like I'd been a good little boy for a long time and put up with a lot of shit from family,
Mm,
from friends, from an environment
mm,
that I felt didn't understand me, and I really didn't understand it. And I just said, you know what? I see a lot of people getting high and getting involved in maybe not such savory activity, and seemingly, and I use that word seemingly because it's just from my viewpoint at that time,
mm,
that they were getting away with these things with impunity. And I just said, you know what? Fuck it. And I crossed over. I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm getting
mm.
loaded. I'm getting high as I can. I'm getting drunk as I can.
How old were you then around?
I was about 17, 18.
Oh, okay.
I had messed around with it a little bit, experimental stuff, like drinking the leftover drinks at the adults' parties and stuff.
Where did you grow up? What
I
neighborhood?
I
Or when?
unfortunately grew up on a place called
Unfortunately.
Long Island,
Long
I
Island.
often refer to as Leviathan Island. Um, and but looking back, I'm grateful I grew up there because the adversity of that place has made me the person I am, and
Yeah,
it's given me a
fantastic.
lot of the strength and courage that I actually have in my life. See,
That's so
recovery is good
nice.
like that. We view these things as a more of a
You're
positive.
you're out in Queens now,
I
right?
live in Queens now. I've lived in
Yeah,
this
okay.
particular apartment for about 20 years, I think, just about.
Wow.
Yeah.
Got some
Well,
good rent
recovery's
control
good like
happening.
that. You get to keep your
Yeah.
place of residence, and
And not get
it's
kicked out.
yeah, not get kicked out or move back into family, and, be a, yeah. But
Ugh.
just to kind of keep with the thread, so I'm thinking I'm having fun, and I did, like I think it's very important, I not just for me, but I think for members in general, whatever the path is to recognize there was a benefit to getting loaded. I mean, there was.
No, hell yeah, it
It
saved my
gave me
life for a
it
long
sure
time.
as hell gave me certainty. If I
Oh my
drank, I knew
God,
what was the
totally.
result was going to be. I would get drunk. I could talk to girls. You know, I grew my hair really long, and that was that attracted a lot of nice
Mm.
young ladies in my life. And I would like to thank Chris Cornell personally for because I guess my hair and my curly ringlets kind of looked like him. So so thank
Thanks,
you,
Chris.
Chris, on the
But
other
Chris is
side.
not. But on the other, yeah,
And
on the other
he was
hand,
one of
he
us
didn't.
too, right? And he was one of
Yeah,
us,
he
right?
was. He was.
And
So
when
so
we
sad that
and it
story.
is sad,
Oh,
and I mean, I'm joking around, but I don't want to
I
diminish the
know.
man's life and
Oh, I know.
importance.
I know that. I know that.
But you know, eventually, you know, and this is looking back in hindsight. Now, there certainly was always a feeling of like in the big book, it talks about restlessness, irritability, and discontent. It was
Mm,
there, and that was my cure for it was getting loaded. And it
yep.
worked for a long time until it didn't work. Now, you know, I'm a garden variety,
Mm,
dope fiend, drunk, you know, recovering person, however you want to call it. And I'm grateful for that because I'm unique in other ways and my talents and my abilities and things. But
yeah.
when it comes to being you know, a recovering addict, garden variety, which is great because then I don't have to invent a program. It doesn't have to be the Robert program. You know, there are things that exist. And I'm really good for that because the Robert program was getting loaded and hurting a lot of people. Like I'm joking around saying getting laid and stuff. I was, you know, I use women honestly, you know, and I don't
Sure.
want to get into lurid details about that, but it was really not considerate or kind. It was more about it's all about me and the drugs and the alcohol fueled that. And then it's so funny when in my active addiction I thought like I'm going to acquire all this stuff, right? So the more I would go after certain things, I'm going to have as much sex, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to have all this. And in the end, I actually had nothing materially.
Yeah.
Now, the first time I came into recovery, I still had some material things left. And that looking back may not have been the best thing for me because I'm the kind of alcoholic and addict that really needs something to wake me up.
Yeah.
Um,
Me too.
so I
The
went,
2x4 from God. That's what you
yeah,
need.
pretty much. Well, I'm going to touch on that too because I don't necessarily think that that's from God, but it appears that way when I'm
Well,
living
yeah,
in
yeah.
self
You
will.
know what? You're absolutely right about
And
that.
I've only
And
recently just kind of connected with that because
yeah,
you
it's
know,
true.
like
It's all us. It's
it
all
is
us.
all us.
Of course, it's all us. God is always never give us a 2x4, but it's the 2x4 that wakes us up to God.
Right. Well, it's
Yeah.
recognition of that this isn't working, my way isn't working.
Right. Right.
So I had moved back in again with my family in 1997. I'd moved out of there in 91, and then you know, money would run out. I'd move back home, and then I'd get it together, and then I move. You know, I'd never look at the using. I just looked at that I could stop, but I never looked at the unmanageability. It's like, dude, you work a full-time job and you have no money. I still the money issues are still there, even with being clean and sober for 16 years. So
Yeah.
I still, you know, have a lot to work on. I'm just grateful that the drugs aren't, you know, that obsession is lifted. However, just to backtrack again, um, I move in with my folks. I remember this was in 97 and I was supposed to go videotape a band, and that was something I really loved doing. I went to the School of Visual Arts. I went for 1 year because it interfered with my drinking. So, but I kept with the filming and videotaping bands and actually even getting into the post-production business in New York City. I worked for many different places.
Hmm.
But you know, it's so funny how you know, we say social acceptability does not equal recovery. But man,
Sure.
I used that I had these jobs as justification that I could continue to drink.
Well, it's also rampant in that
Oh
job.
yeah, yeah, it's a
I
lot.
mean,
Yeah. Well, it's a
God, there's
lot
a
of
lot of
high pressure and but you know,
cokeheads and
those
so much
folks can
cocaine.
do it and
Yeah,
maintain
sure.
their life. I'm not one of them. But
Yeah.
so I'm back home again. I have a job. I actually at that point I had an apartment in Brooklyn and I was smoking crack at that point. And
Williamsburg?
it in yeah, Williamsburg on Power Street off of Humboldt.
Oh, I know what that
And
is.
it was a rent. I cried when I left that place because that was a rent stabilized place. I think I paid $850 a month for it. It was a 1 bedroom. I had everything that, materially that good looking guy, making decent money, had an apartment. My family used to be baffled. They're like, where's the money going? Like, what is going on? Like, and I would just be like, I'm not going to say, hey, I'm smoking crack, and, but I got scared. I got really scared. I couldn't stop. I know nothing about, I sort of know a little bit. I knew people that I used to get loaded with who did find the rooms, but they're not in my life. They're not exactly hanging out with me. So, but I knew kind of faintly that there was some kind of help, but I
Mhm.
wasn't in contact with any of these folks. And I'm sitting in an apartment. I remember I had one of my first vacations from my job in 2 weeks. And I don't know how to take a vacation. I don't know, like save money and go somewhere or do anything like that. I don't know that at all. So I just smoked crack for 2 weeks in my house. And I'm, just bugging
Sorry
out
for
and
laughing.
no, listen, I have a saying, we laugh because it's funny, but we cry because it's true. So
Yeah.
I'm open to that. Listen,
All right,
there's
good.
nothing anybody can do to me that I haven't done
Done to
worse to
yourself.
myself.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, totally.
the slings and arrows, it doesn't,
And
it
I'm only
really
la-
don't bother me.
I'm only laughing
Well,
in identification.
yeah,
Because I
exactly,
know
certainly.
exactly how that is.
Yeah, I'm glad you're sharing that, not so much for my benefit, which I do appreciate, but for the benefit of the listeners, so that
Yeah, yeah,
especially
absolutely.
if they're new to this thing, they're like, "Oh my god, it's smoking
She's
crack and he's
laughing at him.
What the
I
hell?
know.
Like, that's
It's
horrible.
because
Give
I've
him
locked
give him
myself.
a hug. Get him
I
a
know,
cookie
but
or something, you know?
it's funny. Like totally. Like I can think of so many times
But
that I've
that's the
locked myself
beauty
in
of
my
it when we
house.
connect with
Yeah.
with others, when we're working with others,
Mm,
man, and we can
absolutely.
laugh about that. They can laugh at it too because they know it's a deeper identification.
Totally.
So I'm afraid. I'm like, I can't manage an apartment. I can't manage a job. I'm just getting high. I can't stop. And I know that something bad is going to happen. I'm like, Mom, Dad, can I come home? They're like, okay. They really not sure why, but they kind of
How old were you at that
suspect.
time?
Ooh, I was 28 when I first came into the rooms of recovery.
Okay.
So I moved back in with Mom and Dad. I still have the job. And
Did you tell them about the crack?
no, but I would smoke in their house and became a problem, And then I would say, no, 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 it's, I don't even know how I got them off my back. I just kind of was like, all right, well, maybe I'll just,
Well, they probably didn't know what crack smelled like.
yeah,
or anything,
who
so they
knows?
didn't really
It
know.
was just like, I put them, I mean, thank God I have a ninth step. I put them through absolute hell. And worry and fear and concern,
Yeah,
I'm
we
their
all
only
did.
kid. I have no siblings. I'm the only one. That's it. Um, so here I am at home, but I'm still smoking. I get another girlfriend. I'm still smoking. See, all these we learn over time that because this disease is spiritual in nature, a job, a girlfriend, money will not
Satisfy
will
anything.
not satisfy that. It will not
Mm.
alleviate the restlessness, irritability, and discontent.
Oh
And that
my
we
gosh.
and even in the continuing of use, the pain was still there. I needed to use even more. And I was in that cycle. Now, again,
Mhm.
I don't understand this at that time. This is reflecting upon. And I like to always say that, but just so people who are new, so they're not like, they come in like, how the hell did he know that then? There's no way I knew that then. Please. Just
Right,
don't
right.
give me that kind of credit. It's just that no, that came later. And it came with abstinence too. It came with stopping drug use and alcohol use. So I still wanted to kind of hold on to making videos for bands and stuff, and
Mm.
got a little YouTube channel of some of the stuff I did back in the day that I think is quite good, but I could never hold it together because of the using. And I remember I was supposed to
Which
go
bands
to
were you filming?
some of the punk stuff. This band in particular that I was going to film was called Disassociate. I never wound up doing a music video for them, but I'm friends with those guys. And there's a lot of live stuff that I did, just a camcorder and recording the shows.
Yeah.
Now
Okay.
that's passe. Everybody has a cell phone, so
Yeah.
everything's recorded, which is kind of sad because it in my view, if you weren't at the show, then you kind of you missed it, it's something
Yeah,
special.
yeah, totally.
But that's me, and I'm an older guy, so that's kind of, you kids don't know. But I sort of view that, a little differently than I guess folks these days. But
Yeah.
I was supposed to go videotape Disassociated, a gig. I got the camera, I got, a destination, and I deviated from that destination. I wind up, I believe the venue was on the Lower East Side. So at that time, that's 1997. So there are, the Lower East Side is still kind of the alphabet city, drug infested, crazy insanity that you and I knew and loved. But and I copped some shit. I copped some crack. I'm in the camera gets stolen. I'm in a crack house. I don't care that the camera gets stolen. I'm just like,
Oh
well,
my
let's get more
God.
crack. There's no going to the show. The sun's coming up. I'm scared to death. I'm a white boy in a predominantly black crack house, and I'm threatened. I'm scared. And
Paranoid on top of it,
and
probably.
then I'm
Smoking
smoking all
crack
that stuff,
night.
and I'm paranoid. And the second, I guess, there's a hierarchy in crack houses that sometimes the boss of the crack house was a really scary guy.
What you do?
He
I'm a
when
boss of the
he
crack
he
house.
kind of walked out, went to the bathroom, and then I fucking just made a beeline for the door, ran down the stairs, got on the subway, took the Long Island Railroad back to my house, my parents' house, took a cab from the train station, got home. My mom's like, "Oh, how are you?" I'm like, "I'm not good. I'm a mess. Here's my ATM card. I'm gonna check myself into treatment." And
Whoa.
I knew, yeah, that's pretty dramatic.
Do you know what month that was? Because
Well,
do you have any idea? Only.
my
Mhm.
original clean date of 1997 was funny. It was St. Patrick's Day morning,
Mm.
March 17th, 1997.
Get out of here! You know what my clean date is?
What's that?
March 2nd,
Oh shit.
1997.
Nice.
That's when I got so you were struggling while I was struggling in Berlin, and you were in New York. That is wild.
Well, I think you had even mentioned you were like that. You were also like in your late 20s when you got sober, right?
28 when I got
Oh,
sober.
okay, so
28.
exact same age. Unfortunately, my story was that I did relapse. But this was my introduction. Like we were saying, this is sort of the timeline. So I give mom the thing. I'm all the cards on the table. This is it. Now I don't know much about NA or AA. I know that my friend Punk Rock Steve, I call him. I love that guy. He just in my mind, knowing that, because I used with him, that was helpful. I used with this guy. He wasn't using anymore. He had his own apartment. He had girlfriends. He had a life, and I was like, I mean, and that may not seem spectacular to most, but from my position, that was
Oh my God.
like a
hell
kingdom.
yeah.
I was like, my God,
I know. Me too. Like, wow.
and you know what? I'm glad I can still keep it that simple.
Oh my God, totally.
Clean
I used
socks.
to watch. I mean, I used to watch people on the subway, like in the morning with their coffee, freshly out of the shower, and I'm like scrumming on my way home, completely dirty, disgusting,
Right.
and just thinking like, why can't I just be freaking normal? Why
Yeah.
can't I be normal? It's oh my God,
Oh,
that
like
was
being-
like
I could buy a
kingdom, like you said, it was
newspaper.
like a dream. Oh my God,
Yeah.
like yeah.
I mean, I
relate to
still
that.
try to view it that way. That's a big part, the gratitude piece. I'm like, I look at my fingers.
Hell
There's no
yeah.
burns on my fingertips today from the pipe.
Did you ever get into dope?
Well, we're getting there.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I
We're-
know you're a dope fiend.
we're
When is
getting
that
there.
coming?
We're
Okay.
getting there. We're getting. It's an adventure. I mean, I was a garbage head prior to getting
Yeah,
clean the first
I know
time.
that.
Pills,
I know that. Yeah.
booze, crack, coke, and then like it's so funny how cunning the disease is, right?
Oh my God.
We
yeah.
say, "Oh, crack brought me to my knees." Well, we find out hopefully soon when we have a first step in our life, or at least the second part of the first step. It's you, pal. The drugs are only a symptom. Now, I don't know this again. I don't know this in 1997. I know I need
It's
help.
you.
So I
Pal
had an
Pal.
there was an outpatient that was in the town in Huntington Station where my family was living, where I was living at the time. And it was called Daytop. And Daytop was a pretty
Oh my
notorious
God, I remember
deal.
Daytop.
Pretty notorious deal, even though it wasn't the residential therapeutic community vibe. It definitely had a lot of that in there. And you know
Is
what
it
I
still
was
around? Is Daytop still
they
around?
merged with Samaritan Village.
Oh, okay.
So if you
Okay.
call them up, they'll say Samaritan Village, where good lives. So
Where good lives.
turn your
Okay.
will and your life and your insurance over to us. But anyway, no, and you know what? As somebody who works in the quote unquote field, I love when
Mhm.
people say that. What field? Cotton, wheat, what field? The field of addiction.
The field of
Um,
addiction.
there is a lot of goodwill. Maybe I have some issues with
Sure.
the system of it, but you
Sure.
know, I do my best to just,
Well, you and I have a lot of talking to do after
good,
this interview because
good.
we need to get together on some projects. You and I.
Awesome. I'm down. I'm open.
Yeah.
And this is also part of what you shared with me about being neurodivergent is really got
Mm,
me in a position where I can actually I found my niche because I had to get honest about that stuff first. But we'll
mm.
get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there when
Okay.
we get there.
We'll get there. We'll get there after the dope fiend. Okay,
Yeah.
go for it. Continue.
So
Attack.
I go to the outpatient, and to be honest with you, yes, I was scared. And then after a while, the ego starts to reassert itself. And I was just like, well, I'm just doing
That
this
damn ego.
to stay clean for a year, and then
Mm.
I'll have enough money. Maybe I'll have a new job, and more than likely, I'll have a new hostage, aka girlfriend. Who of course will be nuttier than me and very destructive, and we know how to pick them.
Or
Hey,
the
you want to
perfect
confirm
codependent.
you want to confirm
Yeah.
my low self-esteem? Hop in, let's go.
Oh my God, I love it.
And like I said, we can laugh because it's funny, but I cry because it's true. And thank God that my life is not like that today. But so
uh,
we fast forward a little bit, going to outpatient, and Daytop, like I said, back then
they
they
were strict
kind of
as hell.
they could be very it was like you couldn't wear your hat in a building, and I was like, why not? And they would tell me because, and that was therapeutic when I look at it
Yeah,
because it was
sure.
like this is acceptance. This is also looking at unmanageability in terms of wait a minute, when I use drugs, I have to pay a guy to tell me not to wear my hat. That's fucked up.
Mm.
Now, sometimes patients would say, you're right where you're supposed to be. No, no, no. If you're ever in an institution and anybody tells you you're right where you're supposed to be, tell them no. That's not I'm supposed to be here maybe in terms of my health and
Yeah,
getting straight, certainly. But no, you're supposed to be happy, joyous, and free. But that comes
right.
later. That comes later.
Yeah.
But because they were strict, and I didn't want mom and dad to be mad, and I was just scared. So they just said, you have to go to what they would call quote unquote outside meetings. Now, meanwhile, I'm working full time. I'm commuting back and forth from Manhattan to Long Island, and I'd go straight to outpatient, not even going home because it was near the train station. And I think it was like 3 or 4 nights a week. It was pretty intensive. It was like
Mm.
group, and then once a week an individual, but mostly group. And they had this whole orientation thing too, that they keep you kind of penned in there when you were new for 30 days. You had to stay clean for 30 days, and then you would move on to the next level. They don't do it like that anymore. The governing body, Oasis, that's they've restructured everything. But the thing they told us, they said, listen, if you want to stay here, you have to go to an outside meeting, a 12-step fellowship of your choice.
Yeah, okay, so at least they were pushing that. That's good.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful that they did that, and
Mm.
some of the staff, we were in recovery, and it was it's a small jerkwater town. So, I saw the staff at the meetings. So it was kind of cool. However, I just wanted to do the minimal and get everything out of it, which is a typical
Of
addict way of
freaking,
thinking.
of course.
So I'm
It's
like,
we
well,
walked 10 miles into the woods, but we're only willing to do a half a mile out. How
exactly,
does that work?
exactly.
How's that going to work? We
So
manipulate people to carry us out.
but but to my credit, I did stopped mainly because of fear, and I never and ego, because I
Mhm.
didn't ever, I kind of started to become this kind of recovery character,
Guy. Yeah.
and that reasserted itself when I got clean again too. But thank God I didn't use behind that.
Mm.
So this time, I'm kind of, and I'm absorbing some things, and of course, this isn't by osmosis, but I will say that when we do immerse ourselves, and I think that's even a term that's used in Hare Krishna, immersion or absorption, I believe is even a word that's used.
Mhm.
We use also surrender, right? So
Right.
I little by slowly was sinking into my consciousness,
Mm.
and but I had no step work, I had no sponsor, but I did have a God, and that was pretty beautiful because here I am. The meetings are in a church, and it was a church I went to. Uh,
Mm.
I
Were you raised Catholic?
I was baptized Episcopalian. As a little kid, I wanted to hang out with the other kids after school who were going to catechism. So my parents kind of made a little deal, and they said, "Well, he was baptized. As long as he does the sacraments as a Catholic, we're
Is
good."
Episcopalian Catholic or
It's
Protestant?
Christian. It's kind of a, and I were, to be honest with you, I'm not all that well
Yeah. Okay. Don't
schooled
worry
in
about it.
these things. But I will say this: when I'm in the Narcotics Anonymous meeting, and sometimes it would just bore the hell out of me, and because
Yeah, me
part
too.
of me knew what was going on. When I look back on it now, unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of folks who were doing the so-called work, the steps.
Yeah, there's a
So
lot
it's
of
kind of
war
like the
stories
blind
back
leading
then.
the blind. And
Mm.
of course, I didn't know that, but something internally was like, these people are kind of nutty. I don't know what's going on here. So I would sit in the
That's why I
pew.
got most of my recovery in AA. Actually, it's
Well,
a lot more
well,
organized.
I will say, I'm gonna give Narcotics Anonymous a lot of credit because
Oh hell yeah!
when I got clean again, I jumped right in and I found the people who were doing the work.
Of course,
That's my
of course.
responsibility. So, and I
Good for
put that,
you.
I'm very open about that.
Very good.
However, you gotta find the people. But anyway, I'm sitting in a pew, and I would do this quite often, and I was praying, and whatever prayers I could remember from when I was a little kid. And I didn't, I can only give God the credit because those thoughts that were coming in were not necessarily my own to do that.
Mm.
And I didn't realize what was happening. Oh boy, I knew I was going to have to get tissues today. Yeah. Oh well. Ah,
Don't worry, Rob. It's all good. I love
ah,
this. Thank you so much for your honesty
you're
and
welcome. No, these are the gifts that we have.
yeah,
I'm grateful for it. Listen, I shut down these kind of tears for a long time.
it's
I
so
let
wonderful
it
that you're
flow
here.
now. It's not a
Yeah,
problem.
good
It
on
may be a
you.
problem if you're trying to speak. Uh, I was establishing a conscious contact. I didn't
Beautiful.
have those words. I didn't understand what that was until much later. But I would hear these things, and I think I haven't met an addict or an alcoholic that has ever. We've all been seeking. It's a spiritual journey. What we started with alcohol and drugs. And I know
Totally
that
agree
for a
on that.
fact for myself, and I've seen it in others. I mean, even the most staunch atheist, who's using, I've seen like books in their house about even quantum physics. There's some kind of
Yeah.
spiritual thirst or quest that's going on that we're not necessarily conscious of because it's low level. It's a low level, but it's a beginning. It is a beginning,
Yes.
and it's a wonderful, and it's a scary beginning, and some of us don't make it. You know,
A lot of our friends didn't make it,
a
huh?
lot of our friends didn't make it, and
Mm.
we've lost somebody not that long ago, but
Really?
but but uh,
Do I know this person?
yeah, it was the singer from Apple. Her name was
Oh
Jeanette.
yes, of
But you know
course.
what? Uh, I don't know what you're going to use on the podcast or not, so I don't want to necessarily
I use
break
everything
someone's
because I don't know how to.
anonymity. But
Hmm.
that's at your discretion. But her boyfriend, I won't use the name. he reached out to me, and he's in treatment right now, and he's been
Oh,
in
yes.
residential. He's got 6 months sober. He reached out to me because he
Oh,
knows I'm in
Robert,
recovery and
thank you.
stuff. And these are the gifts we get to,
Thank you
people
for
come.
that service.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So anyway, a guy who thought he had nothing to offer, right? That's pretty good. So, like I graduate from the outpatient, right? So in my mind, it's a reservation. I don't tell anybody this. I said, I'm going to get, as soon as I get out of here, as soon as I get away from these recovery weirdos. I already got a girlfriend at this point,
So you're
who-
set.
So I'm
Give
like,
your
I
will
got
and
the
your life over to
girlfriend.
the care of a
I
chick
got,
as
I
you
got an
understand
apartment
her.
lined up in Astoria. And I got a job lined up with a guy who I used to do drugs with. So all set for success, and I'm being sarcastic. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to smoke one time, when everything's settled, when I'm packed into the new place, and then I'm not going to do it anymore, but I want to
Smoke
taste
what?
crack. I was like,
Oh,
I want to smoke crack one more time.
Oh, God.
And I managed
How
to,
many times I've said that?
oh, shit. Lou Reed has this song called One Last Shot.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
Oh, this is brilliant because we were always like, oh, today's the
One
day.
more. Today's the day. It's the last one.
God, the only one who decided, I don't know, maybe this is a blanket statement, but fuck it. I never decided my last day.
Oh, God, no.
It
Me
didn't
neither.
work that way. And I don't think I've ever met anybody who has. Maybe there are, but that's just not my
There might
experience.
be.
But so I move out of my folks' house again. They're like, oh, he graduated from dope fiend outpatient, and he's got his little. I was so unmanageable. I wasn't even able to show up to the graduation ceremony to get my piece of paper. That's how the unmanageability was there. I was fucking insane, angry. I'm with this girl who was trouble. I opened the door to that, and I'm pissed off at her. And I have, like I said, I have no program. I have no awareness. I have no way of knowing how the disease manifests itself and how relapse even happens. I have nothing.
So that was still in 97?
It was in 97. And then close to 98, I had that same experience again it's so funny. I'm getting real honest about this. I had the same experience of when I first, kind of said, fuck everybody, I'm going to get high again. And I remember I'm working the new job. I got the girlfriend who's on meds and is a former sex worker and is completely nuts. And because that's her. And again, I'm not trying to do the blame game. I'm trying to say, this is what I pick to bring into my life when I don't have a program. And I'm sitting in my little cubicle area. I at the time I worked with videotape machines, and that was back in the day when they had big clunky tapes and things. And I'm frustrated because it's a new job, and they're normal things, but they're just blown out of proportion because I don't have a program in my life, and I don't have the drugs. I don't have a cushion.
So you're just white knuckling it.
So I'm just white knuckling. I don't even know what that means. I'm just like, this is what recovery is about. You got to get through life. It's hard. Yeah.
Right.
It's like,
suck it up, buttercup.
like, yeah, man, it's like, wow, that's not even close to happy, joyous, and free,
Yeah.
And then this guy comes back into my workspace, and he told me, he's like, before they converted this into a work area, they used to get high. They would get stoned. And like you mentioned in the video post-production business, a lot of drugs there. And this guy was like, yo, you mind if I just, take a few pulls on this joint back here, and then I got to go back to my editing session? I said, only under one condition.
You give me some.
What's that? Give me a hit.
If
And then we go, the crazy girlfriend is replaced with an even crazier girlfriend, crack and pills and booze. And then, hey, if it doesn't get any worse, what drug can I take that really doesn't make me feel? Let's do heroin. Yeah.
Oh
And
my God.
and here we go. And you know what?
Was that your idea or just show up with somebody?
It was, well, I'd fucked around with dope before, but it just never kind of grabbed me at that time. But
you were dedicated. You were dedicated to addiction. So
I was,
let's
you
try
better
it.
believe it, man. I want my
Let's
stripes,
try.
like,
Hell
let's
yeah.
go. And what's so crazy? The first time I did it, It was
You
in
vomited everywhere.
91, and it was on Thanksgiving. And I remember, and this girl's now, she passed away. I suspect she died from music. But bringing this girl to my parents' house. This isn't the one in 97. This is 91. And I remember, like, I'm going to do heroin for the first time on Thanksgiving in my parents' house with my new girlfriend. This is great.
Fucking great, amazing idea. 6,432.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my God. God really has mercy. I'm still here. Wow. How did that work? But, and I remember doing it, and the young lady was a little bit more experienced than I was with the drugs. So she went to go powder her nose in the bathroom, and she left the dope out. So I'm cutting lines like Uma Thurman. I'm thinking it's like coke.
Oh my God.
And I just did one because I was afraid. I was, I had some
It's
sense.
also Thanksgiving. It's also Thanksgiving.
And I was
for
like,
your
yeah, I
parents.
don't want to have an overdose on Thanksgiving. That's
Yeah,
kind of
fall asleep
disrespectful.
fall asleep on the turkey.
So I just did a little bump. And then when she came out of the bathroom, she saw the line. She said, "What?" She's like, "You didn't do all of it." I said, "No, just a little bit." She's like, "Thank God." And this is before the Pulp Fiction came out, but I had enough sense then. And I just remember she doled it out because she knew I was a newbie, and we're just snorting it at this point. I never got I got my wings, but that's another story. And for those who don't know about that, getting your wings means learning how to take the drugs intravenously. And you usually have somebody show you how to do that. And then, but she I'm high, but I'm not sucking my shoelaces high, And I was kind of like, oh shit, it didn't kill me. This isn't so bad. Maybe those movies are full of shit. So fast forward, early, 1998, 99, 2000, I think around 2001, I'm still using crack, drinking, and for some reason I'm able to kind of like stay jogging in place in my life. No, it's not casual. No, it's not.
No, I mean casual with the heroin.
Yeah, no, well, it would just be like if it was there. But I had become so despondent. Now, again, this is through hindsight. This is through looking back. And the only way I can look back at this stuff and see these patterns is by being sober, not using, and working the steps, and I'm going to keep saying that through this conversation. So hopefully that penetrates somewhere with somebody, because I know it does with me. So, but yeah, because, you think, that's something, this is a little sidebar, but that's something that's so important to mention, because especially when I was new, I was like, where does people get all this insight? Like, what are they just smart? No, it's better to be dumb, actually, if you're going to do this.
Oh,
Put your preconceptions of whatever education you may have or intellect to the side, and just have a blank slate, and you will be open to the insights that come. That's a guarantee, and I don't say that flippantly. So I'm my life is really going down the drain. Just the quality. I'm just working. I'm supporting my drug habit. I'm supporting I got like I said, a progression of another girlfriend who was even worse than the last one, because it's a deterioration. As I deteriorate, the external environment deteriorates as well. The people, places, and things get worse just as much as I do. And to just add more misery, it's just like, you know what? I don't want to feel. So I'm going to do dope. And I'm like, fuck it. This broad here, she's, excuse my misogynistic language. She's shooting dilaudid. I might as well get down, It's just, but it's the same thing again. You're getting away with it. Let me do it.
Of course.
The world owes me a living. You all get away with having a good life. This is my idea of a good life. Use it. And, needless to say, even the young lady, she couldn't deal with me anymore. So she bailed. She found because there's no money. So she found someone else to support her habit. I'm by myself. The company I was working for, I can't even believe, like, at that point, they didn't even want to talk to me. They would let me come into the studio, but there was no work. The company was being bought out. and they weren't going to buy me along with it. It was pretty obvious because it was just like it was loaded all the time and obnoxious and then just in people's faces. And I was just a wreck. And I remember they called me up one day, the job. They said, we need you to come in. So I come in. They're all gone. They left a letter. They said, this is a list of the people we're laying off first. And I was on that list. They didn't
Were you
even
the
want to
first
be
one on the list? Were you the first on
well,
the
it's
list?
alphabetical. My last name begins with B. So it
Yeah,
was
yeah, that's
definitely
true.
close to the top. But it would have been there. I think they would have put it number one with a bullet if my last name began with Z. And I don't blame them. Thank God step work, it's given me the clarity to know the harm that I've caused, the amends that have needed to be made in that area. So I'm like, shit. And my parents, in a desperate attempt to save my life, they buy me a co-op. They buy me a co-op. Now, meanwhile,
God.
somehow I've concealed my using from them. I have a heroin habit. It's not like crack. This has the physical component to it. If I don't use, I get sick. And I would try to kick and this and that, anything other than going to treatment. Then I'm bringing fucked up people into my house. Fucked up people from our scene. I bring a drug dealer from our scene. It's at a point where I'm smoking crack and doing dope, and I owe him money. So I'm not even sleeping in my own bed because I owe him money. I have to sleep on the couch, and he has my bed now. And then, and then I would go to detox. I went, and this is fast forward. We're in 2006. I got clean in 07. So just around 07, I had made at least 4 to 5. Memory does not serve well here. Detoxes. I remember one detox in particular. I think it was Beth Israel. My last one was Cabrini Hospital, named for Mother Cabrini. I actually have her picture in my apartment because of that. Wow. I went to Beth Israel Hospital, Bernstein Pavilion. For all old school dope fiends or current dope fiends, the location. It's that little side door in the hospital. And I went there, and I remember being detoxed from heroin, and the day before I was to be discharged, I cannot sleep. I'm anxious. I'm sweaty. I think I honestly believed I was having withdrawal symptoms.
Of course.
Looking
it lasts
back,
like 5 weeks. It lasts 5 weeks for me.
Looking back, it wasn't withdrawal symptoms. It was anxiety.
Anxiety. That's true.
And I'm sweating, and I'm asking the nurses, like, am I fully detoxed? Yes, you are. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I actually literally, I walk out of my hospital room because I can't sleep, and I sneak into the shower because this is at nighttime. I'm not allowed to go take a shower, and I'm just anything to kind of just feel something to relieve the pain or whatever it was. And it got to a point that I'm putting my face on the ground of the tiles, the grimy tiles of a hospital detox, just to feel coolness, to comfort myself. And that's not even a bottom, And then I leave in the morning, and I go back to the apartment where the drug dealer is installed, where some other ne'er-do-wells that I've brought into my life. Again, this all is to confirm my low self-esteem. I learned this later, right? As I deteriorate, my surroundings deteriorate. And my last detox I went to, which was March 23rd, 2007, Cabrini Hospital, which is, and I'm unemployable at this time. My family is paying my maintenance fee. They're older. They're 2 retired people. My dad saved every penny. He worked his ass off. He was a guy who just had a GED, got a good job with the phone company. He was Ma Bell, Ill Communications. He was working there till the day he died, when it became, not that the day he died, but when he retired. It changed over to 9X when he retired. And he did the right thing for himself. I mean, we can get into the abuse and other stuff later, but people are both good and bad, and I see the good in
Mm.
my father and what he was trying to do to the best of his ability. I mean, they couldn't really necessarily express love, but they bought the damn co-op for you, dummy. Wake up.
Mm.
Uh, and I go to Cabrini, and I had been there before, and I got the same social worker that I had, and she has this grin on her face. And now that
She's
I'm
like,
on
"Oh,
the
you
other side of
again?"
the desk, yeah, I know exactly that. You
Yeah, we've become a regular at detoxes. It's
Yeah,
kind of
well,
sad.
I was writing the Zagat's guides to detoxes and institutions for the New York area. It's just research, you know.
I used to call my overdoses because I was like chronic overdose. I used to call them like when I
Wow.
was in Europe. I've done an emergency room world tour of Europe. You know.
Yeah,
Mm,
get a tour shirt, you know.
yeah. God.
But what?
But you
Excuse
know,
me.
talking about all this stuff and
Sure,
um,
I'm almost at the good
it's
part. Don't worry.
yeah, no,
And
I
there
mean
is
it's
a
all
good part.
good.
Well, there obviously
There's
there's a good
more.
part
There's
because I'm
so
here.
much. Well, there's so much more to talk about. I mean, it's like
There's a lot.
this
There's a lot.
covers, but this covers just a small portion. I mean, not we don't even
Right.
cover your upbringing and the abuse. We don't cover any of that now. But
Right.
we can do it in another one. But
Listen.
anyway, okay. I was just trying to tell the listeners this is
Yeah.
going to get great because this low bottom and all of this stuff you're hearing from Robert, the payoff is amazing because
Yeah. Yeah.
Robert's sobriety, his recovery is so strong and so amazing, and that's why I'm so happy that he's here telling this story because yeah. Anyway, so go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead.
thank you. No, please.
Yeah.
And I think it's important too. It's like when you know folks who are engaged in whatever their recovery process is. I'm a 12-step guy. You know, I think you know I've dropped enough hints in that area. Not really hints, but you know that the listeners can understand that. So particularly if you're new, you go to the meeting. The person's only going to speak 15 minutes or whatever, unless it's like a workshop or a convention.
Mm,
But we got, and I just really want to impress this upon folks. And please, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just trying to share with you what I've learned that works and how the programs are designed.
yeah.
You know, and I'm not necessarily an authority on it, but I've done the studying, and I've been around people more experienced with me, and I've looked at the history of Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, so I have some understanding. So
Mm,
what I'm getting at is it's more than just the 15 minutes of the speaker. It's more than just the people sharing afterwards. It's about the steps. It's about going through this process. It's about sometimes the meeting before the meeting to listen to old timers share the application of these spiritual principles in their lives. The 15-minute little talk. Most of the times, if it's just a meeting that's set up for experience, strength, and hope, I'm grateful when speakers talk about the steps because this is how we live.
mm,
This is where the
mm.
recovery comes from. But there is so
You
much
heard it
more.
here. You heard it here. You heard it here.
Yeah, there's so much more to this, and that's why you know they a lot of times, and it's kind of a beef with me. I call it, here's two slogans, call me in the morning, and it's like you got to listen. I hold myself accountable to this. Please give please give a qualification to what you're saying. Please give
Mm,
an explanation of your application of that. You know, please,
that's the
because they
experience,
need
strength, and the hope.
you want to
Yeah.
say, okay, we can say the newcomer is the most important person at any meeting, and they are, and I recognize why. Like we say, we can only keep what we have by giving away. Okay, great. That's a nice slogan. What does that mean? You all keep me on point to share a clear message of recovery.
Can you come closer to the microphone?
Sure,
Yeah.
we're responsible to give a clear message of recovery. That's all I'm saying.
Mm,
And that's so
Yeah.
important to my heart because I didn't get that in 1997. I got a lot of members who just kind of hanging on, just like I was. Now, I don't
Mm.
wish them ill will. They're sick people just like I was.
mm,
And I have no resentment against Narcotics Anonymous. The program works. And it is our responsibility to whatever program it is that you're involved with to find the people who are living it. That's a huge,
Yeah.
that is, yeah, it's a program of suggestions, but if you want it to work, take that suggestion and make it a must. Make it a
Mm.
must. Okay. So
There you
I'm
go.
sorry, I kind of got on a soapbox, but it's for me, it just it breaks my heart when I hear like the
Half
just
stepping. Yeah.
misinformation, insanity, and it breaks my heart. But then
Me
again, that's
too.
God saying, hey, do you have the willingness to be that guy for them? And I'm like, yeah. Sometimes I'm like, God damn it, I don't want to. I just want to coast.
Yeah.
But you know what? Okay, because there's always a benefit. I've always found. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. Let's see if it's good. Because I like that we see each other. But
Yeah.
if the bandwidth gets bad, we're gonna have
No,
to.
that's cool.
Right.
I forgot where I was before I went on that rant.
Okay, so
Uh,
you were on the tile floor with your cheek.
right, right. Okay.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
So then I go back again to Cabrini, and the social worker sees me, and
Mm.
I said, before you open your mouth, I want to let you know that I know that you knew I was full of shit when I was here the last time, and I said I wanted to go to outpatient, and I get this with clients a lot. I was a rehab client, like right there. Like if you did the
Mm.
assessment, it'd be like, dude, this is the best option for you. And I was like, no, I have to kick dope and look for a job. It's like, dude, you can't even stop,
So
but I have no,
don't even. Yeah.
it's like you don't have, you got the drug dealer in your house. There's nothing back there for you. Now
Yep.
she's not saying this. The gift of recovery is the self honesty. We get into that. We don't realize we're practicing principles. This is God working a miracle in our minds that these thoughts are coming. This is maybe a
Right.
combination of that and what I got through just sitting in the meetings, right? Which is
Mm.
powerful. It's not the full Monty, so to speak, but it is powerful. So now she said, well, what do you want to do about that? And I said, I don't know, which is great. Because an addict who says they know, they're in trouble. I don't
Hell
know.
yeah.
I don't know. See, I didn't even realize that's surrender. I don't know.
Mm.
I said, if my feet hit the pavement, I'm going to use heroin. I don't want that to happen again.
Yes.
Okay, we'll keep you here an extra couple of days. We'll set it up for you to go to rehab. I went to rehab. Rehab was called Arms Acres. They were in upstate New York. At
Never
that
heard
time,
of
they
them.
were 12 and 12 based, mostly AA. My
Mm.
experience at that point was only NA, but I was open.
Mm.
And, I share this with guys that like I refer to rehab and even like that young man I was telling you about. I said, listen, use the opportunity when you're in these spaces to change. Otherwise,
Mm.
it's no different than just being a pair of sneakers in a shoebox.
Mm.
Because what is it? It's just a place. Okay, I
Yeah.
get some meals, I get my weight up, oh wow, my dick works again. That's pretty cool. If you want to censor the language, but I'm just trying to be honest
No,
about
I
it.
don't censor anything
Especially
here.
from the male perspective, or just even in general. I mean, ladies go through there; they want to get laid too. So it's not, it's probably, what do they say? We recover from the waist, waist up. And
Well,
then again,
also very prevalent. This is also very prevalent to Krishna consciousness with, one of the regular principles, but we'll
sure.
get into that later.
Well, we talk in AA. It talks about sex powers,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's the appropriate use of the will, the appropriate use of our sexuality.
Yes.
But not just as a means to escape.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm in Arms Acres, and I'm just soaking this up. I am so grateful. Again, I don't even know how to identify spiritual principles, so I just feel good. And my surrender, really, and I think it's important. Now everybody has their own bottom, their own surrender, and what
So
have
this
you.
was 207, right?
This was March 23rd, 2007. By the time I hit the rehab, it was April 1st. So I celebrated Easter there, which was cool. I brought a bit of my Christian piece back into play a little bit.
Mm.
And then when it was about time to be discharged, and this is a good rehab, man. If I ever wind up working in a situation like this is something that I need to do with the discharge plan for the clients. You pick they give you a meeting list, you find the meeting list near your neighborhood or wherever it is you're staying, and you make a schedule of the meetings you're going to go to. That was great. And me being me, because I'm lazy, I found a group that would meet Monday through Friday. And of course, I even have lack of gratitude. I was like, oh, fuckers, they're not there Saturday and Sunday. What kind of bullshit is this? So again, I just try to be honest about, the sanity that's still there, even with 28 days or whatever, or even with 16 years. That's the only way that the defects of character can be kind of, when I can laugh at them too and accept them, So I have
because
this thing,
when you laugh at them and accept them is when you
you realize how absurd it is.
You recognize them.
I don't
You
wanna do
recognize
that.
them for
That's
what they
not
are.
That's not a choice. Well, it is a choice. It's just a shitty choice.
Yes.
But so here I am. I filled the thing out, and the name of the group was Day by Day, and that became my home group when I got out. I
Was it
wanted
AA or
to.
NA?
I wanted to be that guy who had his belongings from the rehab bag sitting in the front row. That was my immediate goal when I got out. I said, I want to be that guy. And I remember being.
Was it AA or NA?
No, this is Narcotics Anonymous.
Okay.
Because I figured that's what I had some experience with, not much, but I was like, go there. And God is so good, because when I got out, I remember my parents were waiting for me at the apartment. The drug dealer. I never asked my dad this because I didn't think it would. I thought it would hurt him if I asked, but I think he did pay the guy off to make him disappear. So he wasn't there when I got there. However, he did call me when he must have counted off 30 days and figured I was home trying to get back in. Needless to say, because I had a home group, meetings, praying every day. One of the suggestions I got from the rehab was from an old timer from AA. He said, you need to do 5 things a day. You wake up, you thank God for another day clean, sober. You make your phone calls, people that you know in the meetings, sponsor. You read some recovery literature. For me, it was the daily meditation, Narcotics Anonymous, and the corresponding page that's in what we call our basic text, which is the big book of NA. Make a meeting. And then when you go home, thank God for another day clean. So
those are the essential 5 basics. That's how I got clean. That's how I got sober. That's how I stayed clean and sober.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't change.
No, it doesn't change. And that's something, anybody who just listened to that, take your pen and your paper, write that down, because that is a solution. That is a solution, a functioning solution that has worked in my life. It's worked in Robert's life. And if you're into bhakti, or if you're into anything, it's the same thing. Your prayers then could be bhakti prayers. You could be chanting.
Right.
Your, everything that anything that comes up in a program can be put into any relationship, any religion. Sorry. So every single thing that the 12 steps have to offer, that a program of Narcotics Anonymous, the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, or any other programs, if you are truly living, breathing, eating, stepping, doing these steps, that is your vehicle, and that can drive into any religion and be incorporated into anything that you're doing. So it is the most powerful thing. And those 5 things that Robert just said, damn, simple.
Yeah.
And not easy. It's not easy, because
well,
we don't want to do those things
I think
for
it's
us
easy
at the beginning.
I love when they say in NA, they said, when we were beaten, we became willing. So
Oh my God, yeah.
If the
That's like
beating, if the beating is proportionate to the willingness,
Oh my God,
it's
yes.
not that hard,
Yeah, in the beginning it's easy, but when
yeah,
you start
over
to get
time,
real comfortable, when
Oh,
you
yeah.
start getting comfortable in your
Oh, yeah.
sobriety, and it's like, I've got 27 years sober and clean, and I'm going to tell you, those things disappear. Those
You
5
bet.
basic things
You
disappear.
better believe it. You better
And
believe
you
it.
got
Well,
to, and then I get
that's
emotional
part 2 of
bottoms.
this podcast. That's for sure.
Yeah, emotional bottoms, spiritual bottoms, all of that stuff, they come into play
Oh, you better
later
believe it.
on, because you don't practice these things in all of your affairs. You don't keep
No.
the
Well, and I-
you
and
don't
I
keep
think
the main
that's-
thing the main thing, then the main thing becomes convoluted.
Yeah. No,
All
I
right,
couldn't
so
agree
go ahead.
with you
Sorry,
more.
Rob.
No, that's wonderful. And that's actually, well, hopefully there'll be a part 2 to this, but
Oh
again,
hell yeah, there's
I
gonna
want
be a
to
part 2 to
I want to
this.
thank you so much for your honesty because honesty is the antidote to our disease thinking. So whether it's me, you, another member, when we express that self-honesty of the unmanageability of our disease, even with time, because the disease progresses, even in periods of abstinence, you help so much, because then it's like a spark. It's like a flame. It lights all the other candles, to be honest. It's beautiful. And you've helped me, and God helped us all. Oh boy. Gratitude attack, baby.
Oh my God, I love this. I really do.
So anyway, so Day by Day became my home group. They were a meeting. They met 5 days a week. So they would do the basic text study. They would do a step meeting. They did all the different kind of formats of Narcotics Anonymous. So that was great for a newcomer. And I didn't do a 90 and 90 in 1997 because I was like, I got a job. I got other things. I got an outpatient. I'm good. I wasn't working on a cure for cancer this time around. So I did a 90-90. We were going to meetings day and night. I remember I was so militant.
I went to 180 and 90. Forget
yeah,
that.
I mean, I don't even know. I lost count, but I was just like, you know, I wound up getting pink eye in the middle of that. So that got disrupted. I didn't want to carry the message, not my pink eye, to the meeting. But I picked up the thread and just kept going. And I was grateful for that, because of building the foundation. It's just, they say in Narcotics Anonymous, you don't have to know how it works, but you have to be willing to follow direction. And that's the best thing. It's just kind of like, dude, leave the driving to us. Just do what it says. And
it doesn't have to be so complicated.
If you're
it's like a
beaten
relief.
Enough, if you're beaten enough, you'll get there. But I do, you know, although it's kind of a refrain, we just said this, and I'm just saying it so that I can hear it, that over time, the recovery does change, because we have to accommodate for our lives becoming fuller, and they have to be in sort of alignment with the recovery. Otherwise things are going to fall apart. And I've never met anybody. I've never met anybody, and this isn't an excuse to slack or to, you know, do anything inappropriate, but, you know, like it even says in Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, nobody is, you know, we're not saints. Nobody's practices this principles perfectly. I haven't met a member. Even Bill Wilson had emotional bottoms. That's why we have his story about emotional recovery. So that's important, even for somebody who's new. Oh, I feel kind of fucked up. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. I was like, listen, even the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous went through a period of that. You're not alone. You are not alone. And again, this is where the honesty, and why I appreciate you so much, Gwen, because, and this was something I got trapped in with having time. The illusion that I have to be something I'm not because I have time, that I'm perfect, that I'm like Mr. Recovery Guy, that I'm the guy who has the answers for everything, the guy who sounds really great when he gives the talk at the meeting and feels like shit when he goes home.
Yeah. Oh, I know that guy.
This is real. And I'm grateful that I can get honest about this stuff, so that those chains can be broken out of that. Because again, this is all self-imposed. Nobody's doing this, you know?
Yeah. But you know, the thing is, you know, there's so many elements to that, and there's so many layers to exactly that, what you're saying.
Sure.
You know, and one of those layers for me was like, okay, you know, when you have a lot of clean time, then you get a lot of sponsees, and you get people who come to you, and you get to this, and you get into this role where almost, and it's very uncomfortable for me to be in that role, where people almost put me on a pedestal.
Correct.
And, you know, and I feel responsible in a way. That's my codependency, right? That, like we say, we volunteer.
Well, I think it's just disproportionate responsibility.
It's absolutely disproportionate. But I just think that that also plays a role. It's like, okay, well, I'm this person, and I'm the source of help for other people. And you know, I want to live up to that, and don't want to disappoint people or this or that. Yeah, exactly.
But we're not.
But this is what I'm saying. This is what happens.
Sure. No, that's the illusion that we fall into.
Yes. Yes.
And it's okay when we can recognize it. And sometimes it's through pain. It's like, oh my God, this hurts. God, could you give me some clarity? Oh, wait a minute. It was you all the time. Oh, you mean I'm just a
Mm.
vehicle? Like I heard it
Oh, you
explained
mean it's
like
not me? It's a vehicle. I'm just a
you're
conduit.
just a
I'm
conduit.
just
You're
I'm
just a
just a stupid
hose.
puppet.
There's
I'm
water
just a
coming through a
puppet.
hose. That's it.
Yes, exactly.
I add maybe a little flair to it of maybe my speech and the delivery, but you are he's the source, or it, her, she, whatever you recognize as a higher power.
Yes.
That's more in the part 2 section, but I'm grateful that I hit that bottom, and that there is that peace, that I've had some peace behind that. So day by day became my home group. I didn't, it was just the simple stuff like, what did you not do the last time? Work the steps, have a sponsor, have a home group, be of service. And then start doing those things. And I was like, oh my God, I have some peace in my life. I have some order. I have gratitude.
Mm.
And one of the awakenings that it came earlier, but I think, in Alcoholics Anonymous, I go to both fellowships, but my foundation was in Narcotics Anonymous. But I just really, I appreciate all the recovery literatures.
Yeah, me
I
too.
kind of like AA because at this point,
It's the OG, man.
yeah, it's the OG, and it's also I need to be led. I need to be told what to do.
Yeah.
And the language is very direct, and
Yeah.
it's like, and I'm not trying to ruffle feathers, but I believe in, my experience has shown me, like, I agree with everything that's said, particularly about to the agnostic. It's either
Love
God
it.
is or he isn't,
Yeah, absolutely.
and I met straight up atheists who are just like, hey, I just conduct myself as if God exists, and that works for them.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's like, but there's got to be something, and it can't be you.
Well, I do love this. I do love the God, good orderly direction.
Sure,
That's something that also helped me while I was trying to find God. When I first got
right.
into the program, it was
Well,
very easy for me to believe in
I
God,
heard
but
it.
it was
I heard it explained like this, and it made a lot of sense. Now, I've never got with that doorknob shit. I don't know who the hell came up
oh
with
my
that.
God, I don't know.
And if I
Or
could
a
track
Coke
them
can.
down,
In Germany, they say a Coke can. I'm like, a Coke can.
but the God of the second step
Mhm.
is not the God of the 11th step. That's how I
Oh my
view
God,
it.
that's beautiful. I've never
Right?
heard it put that way. So
Well, I got
let's
that
just say
I got
let's
through
say that for
Terrence
the people
Gore's.
who don't know this.
Sure, please.
The second step is we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. And the 11th step is we gave our will and no we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understand him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. So those are the two differences. And this is such a powerful statement. The God of the second step is not the God of the 11th step, because by we get to the 11th step, we're mature, and we're not just taking fiery arrows out of our ass and saying whoever it is, we've matured. And you know what we're gonna do, Rob?
Yeah.
What we're gonna do now is we're gonna wrap this up, and then we're gonna put it on pause. No, wait. We're gonna take another 5 minutes, wrap it up, put it on pause, and then I'm gonna leave this as a cliffhanger.
Oh wow, okay.
And then you and I will do a second part.
Okay. Wow.
And I'll publish it a second part
That's
the next week. So it'll be 1 week this.
Okay.
And then the next week the other one. How about that?
All right, see what's going on with my schedule.
But wait, hold on 1 second. But no. What we're gonna do is this. We're gonna do the second part right now.
You mean you'll broadcast it
we're-
then, or load it up.
Exactly.
Upload
It'll be
it.
in two parts because there's so much stuff to cover here, and it's just such a great interview.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Some people don't want to listen for 2.5 hours. I'm a 2.5 hour kind of gal.
Oh, I'm
I'm
vacuuming. I got headphones on.
Oh, hell yeah, me too. And I love the longer ones, but a lot of people don't. So let's cut this up.
Okay.
So all right, so let's give it like another 3 or 4 minutes to wrap this session up, and then we'll put it on pause.
Okay.
Take a pee break, and then continue. Okay.
Okay.
So how do you want to wrap this up?
Let's
so where were you and how you
wrap
wrap it up?
Let's wrap it with this, okay? Because we're really talking about the early recovery and getting a home group and all that good stuff. So let's just say my home group day by day, or my home group in 2007, from 2007 to 2015, just about. That was a meeting that I am, God is so good, because all we have to show is the willingness. Now, all I knew of Narcotics Anonymous before that was the NA meeting I went to in Suffolk County, and a couple of others, but there was one I remembered. I remember it was 2 hours long, and I was just like, again, it's like the ego. Oh, 2 hours. Oh my God. But it was like, you know what? You're beaten. And I remember I did the sign of the cross as I walked into the threshold of this building, the Catholic Charities building. And I just said, this is it. You know, I don't, not knowing that I was surrendering my will, because my will was,
Beautiful.
go home, do something else, look for another job, anything but sit my ass down, learn something about my disease. And
that's so important. That
I went in
that
there,
statement right there.
That group, to me, they raised me the right way. They were members, like I said earlier, the people who were living the program. They had steps in their life. They could share with me the application of spiritual principles. Now, they didn't necessarily sit me down. It's like, I'm going to share with you. It was the art of listening, which I learned that over time. And that's what they mean. Stick with the winners. The winners aren't just because the guy's got a nice car or a hot girlfriend or a lot of money or this or that. It's the people who have some serenity, who have a sense of purpose. You can hear it.
Work the program.
And then they're living this way of life. Well, the only way they can have those things is living the program. There are people who are not, and this is, I'm going to pull the curtain back on this too. There are folks that are not necessarily addicts in the meetings. I know I'm an addict, and I know this because I identify with what the literature tells me of what an addict is about.
Yes.
I'm obsessive. I'm compulsive. When I use, my life falls apart. When I stop using, my life, I'm going to end it with this. This is the best thing to end it with. Let me see if I can. Yeah, just give me a second.
You're gonna pull it up.
Yeah.
All right, try to find that.
I'm gonna pull it up. Hold on.
All right, so I'm gonna say a little something while Rob is finding that. I'm so much resonates with me. Hearing all of this stuff from Rob and talking about these things, this is so healing. Trying to fill that God-sized hole with everything. If you don't hear it in Rob's story, and if you don't hear it in my story, or anyone else who comes on here, if you don't relate to it, that's something that you're going to have, everyone here has to ask themselves, if you think you're an addict, that's something that we have to make that decision for ourselves. We can't have that.
I mean, no.
So, like an addict alone is in bad company. We need to all decide for ourselves if we're an addict or not. And it's like what Rob just said. I just really think that I experienced that. Everything in the book describes me, every single thing. I mean, you get those, like, I got that little pamphlet of, are you an addict? And you got like mark off all those things. There wasn't one thing I couldn't mark off. It was like, like, wow, the first time I ever got an A+ on a test was, are you an addict?
Yeah. Well, and also, just so the viewers or listeners who are not familiar with either fellowship or any fellowship for that matter, the literature is written by the people who have recovered from those maladies, from addiction, from alcoholism, from codependency, or what have you. So it's Narcotics Anonymous is written by addicts for addicts. So that's why I'm saying, like, identification. It's not with like a team of doctors or something that wrote this. This is other addicts wrote this. And Bill wrote that he was an alcoholic, So this is where, if you can have, and what I love about the literature is, if I suspect misinformation, I'll put it politely, I was going to say something else, I just go back to the book. And that might come off as a book thumper, or all right, well, thump, because you know what? Because of this literature, my heart gets the thump today.
Thank you. That's so wonderful.
That was
Okay,
pretty
so
that was pretty militant.
no, you know what people call me here? They call me
Wow.
an NA Nazi
Oh, nice.
because I was so by the book. And it's because my
I've
life
lightened I've
my
lightened up
life
over the,
depended on it. My
I've
life
lightened up
depends
over
on
the
it.
years with it. I would say I wear it more of
Me
as a
too.
loose
Me too.
garment,
But at the
but
beginning,
but
come on.
it saved my ass, and it still does.
Yeah.
So
At
I
the
just,
beginning, it's
I just
like don't discredit my lifeboat. This is something that
right.
saved me, so
This is something I just want to, because kind of give it something to wrap it all up with.
Mhm.
It's a section in the Narcotics Anonymous basic text. It's under the chapter 8, We Do Recover. Now,
oh, my
what
favorite.
it talks about how this, what I kind of want to wrap everything up with is that, yes, there is active addiction. That's
What page are you on?
it's page 87.
Okay. I got it right here too.
Depending upon I have the 6th edition.
Oh no, I got the old school.
If you have the
4th
5th,
edition.
it's on a different page.
I don't even know what I got the old.
But
I
it's
got it in 97. It's from 97. That's when I
oh
got
yeah,
it. It's
so
my
it'll be older.
first
Yeah.
book.
So that's like the 5th edition, I believe.
Okay, so it's
We Do
it's
Recover is the chapter. It's
Yeah.
I'm just going to read from the first page or so. But
Mhm.
like I was saying, there's active addiction, there's the using, and then the wanting to stop, not being able to stop, the unmanageability that comes with it. And then there's the stopping of the drugs and the behaviors, and then the unmanageability still being present. That's that's the two parts of step 1. And I think it's written so beautifully here. And sometimes this is read at Narcotics Anonymous meetings. We do recover. Although politics makes strange bedfellows, as the old saying goes, addiction makes us one of a kind. Our personal stories may vary in individual pattern, but in the end, we all have the same thing in common. This common illness or disorder is addiction. We know well the two things that make up true addiction: obsession and compulsion. Obsession, that fixed idea that takes us back time and time again to our particular drug or some substitute to recapture the ease and comfort we once knew. Yeah. Compulsion, once having started the process with one fix, one pill, or one drink, we cannot stop through our own power of will. Because our physical sensitivity to drugs, we are completely in the grip of a destructive power greater than ourselves. This is my favorite line here. When at the end of the road, we find that we can no longer function as a human being, either with or without drugs, we all face the same dilemma. What is there left to do? There seems to be this alternative: either go on as best we can to the bitter ends, jails, institutions, or death, or find a new way to live. In years gone by, very few addicts ever had this last choice. Those who are addicted today are more fortunate. What an understatement. For the first time in man's entire history, a simple way has been proving itself in the lives of many addicts. It is available to us all. This is a simple, spiritual, not religious program known as Narcotics Anonymous. I don't need to say anything else.
No, mic drop, man.
Yeah.
All right.
We're fortunate. Wow, right?
We are so fortunate.
I don't like to say lucky. I like to say fortunate. Fortunate.
Well, we are fortunate.
Is a better word for it. At least for me. I know I've been away from the mic, so I hope the level hasn't been too bad.
All right, so Robert, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
We're gonna pause this and chop it up in two.
Cool.
This has been an amazing talk.
You ain't heard nothing yet.
Yeah, you guys hold on for next week. This is gonna be a good. We might even do like part 3 and 4. Maybe that would be good.
Wow.
Let's see what happens. We might have to chop it up. We might. It's amazing. So we may have to like just kind of put this in different segments. But thank you guys for listening. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.
And we're going to hear more from Robert. Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
Remember, you heard it here.
It works.
This concludes another episode. Thanks for listening. In order for me to serve this community to the best of my ability, I welcome feedback. Please write your feedback at bhaktirecoverypodcast@gmail.com. That's bhaktirecoverypodcast@gmail.com. Also, please don't forget to follow and give us a 5-star rating. Share this with family and friends. If you'd like to join our Bhakti Recovery community or just find out what we're all about, please visit our website at www.bhaktirecoverygroup.com. That's www.bhaktirecoverygroup.com. There are no dues or fees, and we meet daily. If you or someone you know is struggling with addictions and/or associated behaviors, you will find links in our show notes to various 12-step programs. Nobody seeking recovery need ever be alone again.
सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज.
The miseries of material existence and the most hopeless conditions of life is the best possible opportunity to turn to God.